It's just way more expensive to have the GPUs in space, presumably. What's the reason to put them in space?
Well, the availability of energy is the issue. If you look at electrical output outside of China, everywhere outside of China, it's more or less flat. It's very, maybe a slight increase, but for pretty close to flat. China has a rapid increase in electrical output. But if you're putting data centers anywhere except China, where are you going to get your electricity? Especially as you scale. The output of chips is growing pretty much exponentially, but the output of electricity is flat. So how are you going to turn the chips on? Magical power sources? Magical electricity fairies?
You're famously a big fan of solar. 1 terawatt of solar power, so with a 25% capacity factor, like 4 terawatts of solar panels, it's like 1% of the land area of the United States. And that's like we're in the singularity when we've got 1 terawatt of data centers, right? So what are we running out of exactly?
How far into the singularity are you though?
You tell me.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we'll find we're in the singularity and okay, we're still got a long way to go.
But is the plan to put it into space after we've covered Nevada and solar panels?
I think it's pretty hard to cover Nevada and solar panels. You have to get permits from try getting the permits for that.
So space is really it's really a regulatory play. It's harder to build on land than it is in space.
It's harder to scale on the ground than it is to scale in space, but also you're going to get about 5 times the effectiveness of solar panels in space versus the ground, and you don't need batteries. I almost wore my other shirt, which says "It's always sunny in space," which it is. So, because you don't have a day-night cycle or seasonality, clouds, or an atmosphere in space, because the atmosphere alone results in about a 30% loss of energy. So you're going any given solar panels can do about 5 times more power in space than on the ground, and you avoid the cost of having batteries to carry you through the night. So it's actually much cheaper to do in space. And my prediction is that it will be by far the cheapest place to put AI will be space in 36 months or less, maybe 30 months.
36 months?
Less than 36 months.
How do you service GPUs as they fail, which happens quite often in training?
Actually, it depends on how recent the GPUs are that have arrived. I mean, at this point, we found our GPUs to be quite reliable. There's infinite mortality, which you can obviously iron out on the ground. So you can just run them on the ground and confirm that you don't have infinite mortality with the GPUs. But once they start working, their actual reliability and once they start working and you're past the initial debug cycle of NVIDIA or whatever, or whoever's making the chips, could be Tesla AI 6 chips or something like that, or it could be the TPUs or Trainiums or whatever. The reliability is actually they're quite reliable past a certain point. So I don't think the servicing thing is an issue. But you can mark my words. In 36 months, but probably closer to 30 months, the most economically compelling place to put AI will be space.
That was Elon Musk on a recent podcast, making a prediction that sounds like science fiction, but it's actually backed by physics. Here's what makes his argument compelling. According to the International Energy Agency, global data center electricity consumption is set to more than double by 2030, reaching 945 terawatt hours annually. That's roughly equivalent to Japan's entire electricity consumption today. And the numbers get even more staggering. The IEA projects that in the US alone, data centers will soon consume more electricity than all energy-intensive manufacturing combined, including aluminum, steel, cement, and chemicals production. The bottleneck isn't chips, it's power. And Musk believes the solution isn't on Earth at all. But that's just one of his predictions. Here's another.
What does 26, what does 27 have in store for us as users of AI products? What are you excited for?
Well, I think I'd be surprised by the end of this year if digital human emulation has not been solved. I guess that's what we mean by the sort of macro hard project is is can you do anything that a human with access to a computer could do? Like in the limit, that's the best you can do before you have a physical Optimus. The best you can do is a digital Optimus. So you can move electrons and you can amplify the productivity of humans. But that's the most you can do until you have physical robots. That will superset everything. Is if you can fully emulate humans.
This is the remote worker kind of idea, where you'll have a very talented remote worker.
You can simply say in the limit. Like physics has great tools for thinking. So you say in the limit, what is the most that AI can do before you have robots? And it's anything that involves moving electrons or amplifying the productivity of humans. So digital human emulator,
Yes,
is in the limit. Human at a computer is the most that AI can do, in terms of doing useful things before you have a physical robot. Once you have physical robots, then you can then you essentially have unlimited capability. Physical robots, I call Optimus the infinite money glitch, because
you can use them to make more Optimuses.
yeah, you say like humanoid robots will improve as will basically be three exponentials. Three things that are growing exponentially multiplied by each other,
Yes.
Recursively. So you're going to have you have exponential increase in digital intelligence, exponential increase in the chip capability, the AI chip capability, and exponential increase in the electromechanical dexterity. The usefulness of the robot is roughly those three things multiplied by each other. But then the robot can start making the robots. So you have a recursive, multiplicative exponential. This is supernova.
Digital human emulation. Solved this year. That's not a decade-long roadmap. That's months away. And if that prediction lands, the implications cascade fast. Every knowledge worker task, customer service, data entry, basic coding, research becomes automatable overnight. But Musk isn't stopping there. He's thinking about what comes after. When AI doesn't just match human intelligence, but eclipses it entirely.
The vast majority of intelligence in the future will be AI. AI will exceed. You say like how many? How much? How many? I don't know. Petawatts of intelligence will be silicon versus biological, and basically humans will be a very tiny percentage of all intelligence in the future if current trends continue. Anyways, as long as I think there's intelligence, ideally also, which includes human intelligence and consciousness propagated into the future, that's a good thing. So you want to take the set of actions that maximize the probable light cone of consciousness.
So just to be,
and intelligence.
Just to be clear, the mission of SpaceX is that even if something happens to the humans, the AIs will be on Mars. And the AI intelligence will continue the light of our journey.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I'm very pro-human. So It's not. I want to make sure we take set of actions that ensure that humans are along for the ride. We're at least there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the total amount of intelligence. I think maybe in 5 or 6 years, AI will exceed the sum of all human intelligence. And then if that continues, at some point, human intelligence will be less than 1% of all intelligence.
5 to 6 years until AI surpasses all human intelligence combined. That timeline puts us around 2030 or 2031, roughly the same window the IEA project's data centers will be consuming nearly a terawatt of power annually. But here's the problem. The chips are coming. NVIDIA, AMD, and custom silicon from every major tech company are ramping production exponentially. The electricity to power them? That's another story entirely. And Musk has first-hand experience with just how brutal that problem is.
The point is, you won't be able to scale on the ground. It's just you just won't. People are going to hit the wall big time on power generation. They already are. The number of sort of miracles and series that the XAI team had to accomplish in order to get a gigawatt of power online was crazy. We had to gang together a whole bunch of turbines, and then we had permit issues in Tennessee and had to go across the border to Mississippi which is fortunately only a few miles away. But then we still had to run the high power lines a few miles and build the power plant in Mississippi. And it was very difficult to build that. And people don't understand like how much electricity do you actually need at the generator level, at the generation level, in order to power a data center? Because they look at the noobs will look at the power consumption of say a GB300 and multiply that by a thing, and then think that's the amount of power you need.
All the cooling and everything.
Wake up, yeah. This is like that's a total noob. You've never done any hardware in your life before. Besides the GB300, you've got to power all of the networking hardware. There's a whole bunch of CPU and storage stuff that's happening. You've got to size for your peak cooling requirements. So that means, can you cool even on the worst hour of the worst day of the year? Well, it gets pretty freaking hot in Memphis. So you're going to have like a 40% increase on your power just for cooling. Assuming you don't want your data center to turn off on hot days and you want it to keep going. Then you've got to say, well, there's another multiplicative element on top of that, which is, are you assuming that you never have any hiccups in your power generation? Like, oh, well, actually, sometimes we have to take the generators, some of the power offline in order to service it. Oh, okay, now you add another 20-25% multiplier on that, because you've got to assume that you've got to take power offline to service it. So the actual roughly every 110,000 GB300s, inclusive of networking, CPU storage, cooling, margin for servicing power, is roughly 300 megawatts.
Sorry, say that again.
It's roughly, or think about it like, the way to think about it is like 330,000 to actually what you need at the generation level to service probably service 330,000 GB300s, including all of the associated support networking and everything else, and the peak cooling, and to have some power margin reserve, is roughly a gigawatt.
The math is simple. Chip production is growing exponentially. Electricity production is flat. Something has to give. Musk's answer is space. Orbital data centers powered by solar arrays that never see night, never deal with clouds, and generate roughly 5 times more power per panel than anything on Earth. Whether you believe his 36-month timeline or not, the underlying physics doesn't lie. The AI race isn't just about algorithms anymore, it's about who can turn the chips on.